The Offspring headlined the O2 Arena in London to a sold-out crowd, and it blew minds in a way that was completely unexpected. I went to the gig with my wife, who quite likes some songs by The Offspring, of course, like who doesn't? But she wasn't expecting it to be like an unbelievable, maybe one of the best gigs that she's seen in recent times. So she was quite surprised at how fucking amazing that evening was, and it completely blew her mind. I am a bit more of a diehard Offspring fan. They're a huge part of how I got into rock music in the first place. I've seen them a few times over the years, only at festivals though. I've never seen them their own gig, their own show. And my mind was fucking blown by this gig. And I know that's a broad, kind of cliched statement. Oh, it blew my mind. It fucking did. I've seen a couple thousand live performances from bands over the couple of decades I've been going to see shows. And I was really stunned by what they did. And I'll outline in this video what went on at that gig that evening to make it such a viscerally incredible experience as an audience. I really do think they put on a faultless show. Now, if you want to skip ahead just to the review part of the live bits and pieces, you can. I'll put chapters in this video. But for some context that I think is important here, and another kind of mind-blowing moment that happened before the set, I was fortunate enough to be able to go along to some kind of pre-show event where Dexter and Noodles were, to meet a couple of people who are fans of the band, who are going to cover the band later on. And I have been a fan of The Offspring since I was about 12 years old. Right, the very first rock band I landed upon was Smash Mouth. I heard their song Walking on the Sun. I thought it was pretty cool. Bought the album. I was like, fuck, it's this like ska punk band. What the hell is this? Quite enjoyed that. And then I heard Pretty Fly for a White Guy on the school bus radio. And I was like, this is awesome. What the hell is this? Checked out the Americana album, bought their Smash album. My brother had the Americana album, and I wasn't allowed to play his albums because it was like, well, these are mine, man. So I had to buy my own album, and I bought the Smash album, and I fucking played that album for like 3 months straight, just on a loop. Like, this is it. I need more of this in my life. And I went on to learn drums, and I went on to be in bands. And I was like, this rock fucking music is everything to me. And The Offspring was a huge catalyst for that. And the first time The Offspring were playing a gig near me, we were in Paris, I wasn't allowed to go because I was too young. And then the second tour they went on, the Conspiracy of One tour, I wasn't allowed to go because it was a school night. My parents wouldn't let me. So this was actually at the age of like 39. I was finally able to go to the Offspring's concert. And that was a huge, cool moment. But to be able to, beforehand, be at an event where Dexter Holland and Noodles are there, like the guys that were creating that music that lit a fire under my ass are like, man, rock music is my fucking path. And now here I am making this content here that I've been doing for the last few years. Without The Offspring as a major stepping stone, I wouldn't be probably doing this in the way that I'm doing this. And to be able to shake the hand of Dexter and tell him like how inspirational his music was back then was a cool, amazing, mind-blowing fucking moment on its own. But what really amazed me was how they were superhuman, normal, like friendly, relaxed individuals. There wasn't oh, hey, thanks, man, I appreciate it, and then on to the next person. Whoever they were talking to at the time they were talking to them, nothing else in the world existed to them. They were just focused on you. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, great, that's great to hear. Yeah, we're looking forward to this gig. Like, it was very one-on-one and genuine. And I was kind of floored by that. They're a huge band. Fucking sold out O2 Arena. They don't need to do these gigs. They've had all kinds of success. They don't need to do this. And there was a kind of aura about them. Like, they are kings of punk rock history. I don't really get starstruck, which is fortunate because I interview a lot of bands. And I go, well, they're just human beings. We have a good conversation. Being in the room with Dexter and Noodles, I was like, I don't know if I can say hi. And then for them to exude that kind of personable humanity, it was incredible. So yeah, I'm sure that's played some factor into me really enjoying my evening, right? Of course. But that was stunning. Now, I was going into the actual gig expecting it to be fun, right? I'm a big fan of so many of their music, their albums, their songs. I've seen them live before. They're decent, you know. They tend to do fun shows, crowd-pleasing set lists. I expected to enjoy it, maybe just from a nostalgia point of view, right? You know, they're getting on a bit, aren't we all? this is not going to necessarily be the most amazing gig, but I'm going to love the experience of it because I love the Offspring. It was so much more than just like it's nostalgic raw, listening to these same songs again and hearing it live with the guys on stage. Cool. I couldn't believe how good the sound was, how good the performance was, how complete the set list was for an arena gig. But it was kind of perfect. And like, there can't be a perfect set list because they'll never play all the songs that every single person in the crowd wants to hear, right? They're going to play a variety, but it was a perfectly nuanced set list with huge amount of variety, hit all the right touch points throughout their career, put on a spectacle, and had, doses of their genuine humanity in between songs, kind of chatting to the crowd. The vocals were completely on point. They were so well mixed. And I wasn't even standing by the front of house where you're going to have the best sound because that's where the sound engineer is mixing it from. I was on the side. So I'm like, okay, well, the sound here might not be great. The sound was impeccable. It was so fucking good. And they established themselves by opening with Come Out and Play, which is from the Smash album, the one that I mentioned in my kind of contextual intro here, that I just played that album to death. Unbelievable to have that as an opener. You know, they're going to play some new songs, right? They're touring some new stuff, right? But they open with a kind of classic, sort of deep cut nowadays. Unbelievable. And then they go into All I Want from the X on the Hombre album. What the fuck? Like, they just established, like, we are the band you've loved forever. We're gonna give you the songs that are great from the whole history. There's no, like, oh, I guess we better play this song. They give every song everything they had. They all had different visuals. There were some different, pyrotechnic-y, stunty bits and pieces going on throughout the gig, which I'll get to. But it was just amazing. And to see a sea of people in the standing area, all, like, I get in 30s, 40s, 50s, like, moshing the fuck out of it. Was great. Everyone was giving it so much energy. By the time they got to the third song, I was welling up. The whole, just like the context of everything, of how I arrived at that gig, hearing these songs, flashing back to when I was 12, and, what rock music was to me then and still is now, and being able to, go to the Offspring gig, but actually I'm covering this as part of my YouTube channel. It's like, how did I get here? And to have met Dexter earlier and they're playing the songs I want to hear, and it's just like, I felt so freaking emotional about it. It was a glorious feeling. Obviously I try, keep that shit down. Like, don't let that out. Just go, oh, okay, no, I'm fine. So I can enjoy the rock show, motherfuckers. So, enjoy the rest of the gig from then. Just had some fun with it. They played a couple of songs that I'm not as familiar with from newer records. But they landed brilliantly live. Like, they're very good songwriters, so they know how to have a song translate live for the first time without you necessarily knowing it. Choruses are always kind of catchy. So I enjoyed the newer songs I was, less as familiar with. But also they played, like, Staring at the Sun from the Americana album, which is a deep cut that I fucking love. They played Hit That, but they didn't do all of it. They kind of did a sort of medley of Hit That into Original Prankster. Both songs I absolutely adore. Here's the thing about the Offspring. They're a punk rock band, and I love their punk rock songs. All the way back from, like, their self-titled album, which is, like, mad. They're all great, but I also love their super pop songs, like Original Gangster. I think is just phenomenal. And Hit That, I think, is a banger. Pretty Fly for a White Guy, obviously, fantastic song. They've managed to be, actually, I think one of the first punk bands I can think of, in a big way, to go to a more kind of pop radio writing songs era. They'll have, like, an album, kind of lure people in. Like, it's a great gateway band for people to find the harder kind of punk edge. And being able to do that and not get, like, ridiculed for that by the punk community, whatever it is, like, because the songs are just too good and they're kind of fun and whimsical. And when songwriting is good enough, it's like, you do what you want. And actually, they kind of leaned into this. What they could have done on a different path in their lives is stay as punk rock, try and make sure that they execute that kind of angsty thing forever throughout their career. And they'd never do anything as, like, pop and cliche as bringing on a grand piano to do a ballad version of the song. But they fucking did that at this gig. Why? Because why not? It's going to make it a better show. It's going to have a moment. Add a different dynamic to a song you already know and love, so you hear it live in a different way to the record. Those moments make live shows for me. So they did, this is later on in the set. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but they took a beautiful white grand piano onto the stage so that Dexter could play a solo ballad rendition of Gone Away. And it was gorgeous. And it was one of the most kind of genuine ways I've seen someone ask for the crowd to take their phone lights out to make that whole spectacle go. Because he was mentioning how he wrote this song because he lost someone who's dear to him, and this song helped him kind of make sense of that, and hopes it has helped others to make sense of that over the years. It sounds like it has from the fans, so that's great. And if you're thinking of someone that's you think's gone too soon, like, have that be the reason you're putting up a light. So the fucking whole arena erupts in lights. It was just a magical moment there. And then they played Hey Jude by the Beatles. Like, okay, this is a choice. Huge cover song, big sing-along, beautiful moment. They actually did a few covers during their set. Again, make it big, make it spectacle. It's a headline an arena gig. Let's have some fun with it. Let's have some uniting moments that delivers to the thousands of people that are there. They played a couple of covers of Ozzy Osbourne songs, and obviously tributed to the great man himself, and they fucking crushed those. Those were awesome. There was also a moment when I don't know the name of the song, but according to setlist.fm, it was In the Hall of the Mountain King. But it's that, I think of all them towers when I think of it. Like, Noodles had his space on his own to rip that kind of solo. He and the drummer, the rest of the musicians were like crushing this ever speeding up version of that. It's kind of fun thing. There was a drum solo at some point as well. So there's kind of fun entertainment, rock show placeholder moments. Dexter could get a bit of rest during some of them. But also they used those moments to help with staging, which is really clever. Because there's a moment when there are two huge kind of blue lightning skeletons that sort of breathed out smoke that were inflated on the stage. But while that was happening, they had a bit of a dark, like, thunderstorm visualization. So you didn't necessarily notice that happening. And when they were going down, they had some other thing happen. When the piano's coming on stage, you don't just want a dead air while the whole audience is waiting for a piano to be wheeled on stage. They'd put some kind of event on it, have big bouncing balls going on, so that there's always something to be entertained by while they nuance the production they need for an interesting next visual or kind of set piece moment. Those touches I noticed and really appreciated. They also did a cover of the Ramones, I Want to Be Sedated, because of course the Ramones, right? Punk legends. And I'm always delighted when they play the song Bad Habit off of the Smash album. There's a huge shout along, curse along moment, which they were adorable. Like, do you want to curse with us? That was cool. It's great to be in a crowd of thousands of people, swearing their fucking heads off. Yeah, I remember being a 12-year-old in a Catholic upbringing family, having that song and being like, my parents, they know that there's a parental guidance explicit words on this record thing, and they were like, at that point, like, it's probably okay, you've heard most things. They had no idea what was in that song. And it felt like, tee-hee, I get to listen to this and they don't even know. So it was fun to be able to shout that shit at the top of my lungs at the O2 Arena along with the Offspring. I really enjoyed that. And then more peak Offspring bangers. They played Gotta Get Away. They played Why Don't You Get a Job. There was the Pretty Fly for the White Guy, of course. And then these big sort of, I don't know what you call them, the inflatable, wobbly thing. I'm sure there's a name for these things. But one of the, several of those guys that looked like the character from the music video. That song was huge, big confetti as well going off in that one. And then into The Kids Aren't Alright as their main set closer, which is another great sing-along banger. And so many of the songs as well, these kind of faster-paced, very wordy songs they would have written when they were a lot younger. Now they're older gentlemen at this stage, and they're still having to give very energetic songs, all of the vocals, not much time to breathe. So fair fucks to Dexter and the rest of the band who were doing backing vocals as well, for landing all of that, because it's a bit, I'm fucking 39, I struggle to do all the words in the crowd. And then before the encore, they had this blimp that was being piloted by a drone, which is cool. I've not seen that done before in an arena. I was like, well, where are the strings that are kind of pulling this along? But no, it's just a drone's flying around with lettering on the side saying dance fucker dance, so you knew that you're gonna go far, kid, was gonna happen. Next, they delivered that song, and then they closed with Self-Esteem, again, and one of the great songs from the Smash album. So I was like, you're never going to get all of the songs I adore live necessarily, but so many of them from the Smash album that was my main drug of choice for getting into the Offspring when I was younger was fucking amazing. And a smattering of songs from Americana, which is also the same era when I was discovering them. I couldn't believe how good the show was. How much they were, clearly spent on production to give people the money's worth that they could, and then some. The uniting moments of covers that everyone could sing along, the breadth of songs across the discography they delivered, how they delivered them with full energy and engaging with the crowd in all kinds of fun ways. And the sound was exceptional. Genuinely one of the better gigs I've seen in the last few years. And I'm constantly going to gigs and seeing incredible live performances. The Offspring blew my fucking mind. And I was expecting to enjoy it, mostly from a nostalgia point of view, but I was enjoying it and surprised by it from a technical brilliance point of view. I actually think, and I don't know how they've done this, I think they're getting better with age. And it seems so unlikely. But that's the best I've ever seen them. Sound-wise and setlist-wise and the actual spectacle they put on in terms of production, incredible. Incredible gig. And having seen that, before, I was like, I'm a big fan of this band, and I'll see them as and when I can. And when they play a festival, I generally go and see them. Now I'm like, anytime they're in the UK, I want to go and see them. If that's where they're at now, that's an exceptional show. And it was an honor to be able to be part of that and witness that, enjoy that with those thousands of people. And to have met Dexter earlier on in the evening was, an incomprehensibly amazing cherry on the top. So, yeah. My inner child and my outer adult had a fucking phenomenal evening. And every single person leaving that arena had a big smile on their face, felt amazing. It's just pure euphoria. Incredible. It's amazing that you can buy that feeling with just a concert ticket. Incredible. So yeah, that's what happened at the Offspring gig at the O2 in London, at least my experience of that. If you were there, let me know in the comments what you thought of that, how much of that resonates with your experience of that show. If you enjoyed this and you want to see reviews like this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I go to gigs and then I talk about them here. So do join me for some of these in future. But in the meantime, thanks for checking this video out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.